The reason why I ask these questions is these are questions I want you all to be thinking about with regard to your organization. Is how do you perform in these different levels of human capital, and not only how you perform in them, but how do you know you perform well in them, or poorly for that matter. So if you make a statement, you should be able to explain why you're making the statement that you're making, whether it's in positive, negative, or status quo. HR is considered one of the least strategic departments in the organization. Does anyone disagree with that statement? Is that a painful statement to hear? Like, we're all HR professionals. It's sort of like, you know. And it's really unfortunate because HR is such a powerful force. Human capital is such a powerful force. It's not the main force, in my biased opinion, within organizations. What do you see as the missing link of HR, the perceived missing link? Can anybody explain why it's perceived that way?
I think it's just credibility.
Okay.
So the chart you put up there earlier, that bottom one, it's HR folks are not seen all the time because they don't mention.
Okay.
That's not.
I would say that it's because HR is seen as a cost center and not a revenue generator. So therefore, you're not as important as someone who's producing revenue.
I would say that most HR professionals aren't salespeople, and I think we have to sell our area of expertise.
I think oftentimes that the HR organization views more tactical and strategic, just the day-to-day, and not the real value.
Sure. Those are all great points. One, communicating the information that you do have, measurement. As she said, you know, they don't see the dollar value. And the reason why they don't see the dollar value is because you're not measuring it. It's not necessarily that you're not bringing it, but you're not measuring it and showing them how you're producing dollar value. And as she said, they see it as tactical. And if you look at the history of HR, HR has largely been tactical historically. It's only been the past few decades that we've really been taking a shift more so to measurement and more so to actually being that business partner that we see. And so it's a migration that we have to recognize that is going to be challenging. And in fairness to some of the CEOs, we have to identify this has been their historical experience. That HR has not brought them to measurements and reports that have been consistent with the rest of the organization. And so we're going to have to work 200%, not 100%, but 200% to identify ourselves as leaders within the organization and expect that. I think it's very important that we expect that burden that does exist within the HR function. Where's the beef? Your data is your compass. You must know where you are, your location, in order to understand where you're going. That's an old cliche, but I believe that's very true. I mean, it's just like your GPS system. The first thing you have to do is, you know, spot where your current location is. I mean, it's the same way with measurement. It's the same way with progress and direction that you want to make. If you don't know where you are, there's no way you can identify a strategic map as far as where you're able to go and where you're capable of going. Lack of data equals lack of ability to align with the CEO and the priorities that the CEO has, projects, expected performance, or decision making. If I don't have data, then the best way I can explain what I say is, this is my opinion, this is LaForge's opinion. And sometimes I'm going to be right, but you know, that's pretty anecdotal. He or she may not know when I'm going to be wrong, because I have no data to support that. But if I have my professional opinion matched with the data, then that is much more beneficial for what I say and for the person on the receiving table. The first step is to holistically scan. Look within your organization at all of the different elements that human capital has an impact on. When you look at how human capital connects to your entire organization, it is profound the impact that we have. Not only the people, which is, you know, that's easy for us to see directly. These are frontline managers, these are frontline employees. But technology, how is it utilized? How is that empowering the people who are using it to do a better job and to be more robust with regard to what they do? How are your processes designed with regard to the way that people work and how effective they work? How are financial resources utilized? How are they invested within the people? How are they underinvested? How are they overinvested? How are your external customers treated? How are your internal customers treated? This is all human capital having an impact on all these different areas of the business. How's your organizational structure designed? Is it designed in a way to empower your employees or to handicap your employees? Are there obstacles that are unnecessary? What is the competitive environment with regard to the human capital that exists within your organization versus the rest of the industry? Do you have people who are skilled, highly skilled, not only for today, but for tomorrow's needs? This is where human capital should be stepping in and providing strategy for the other leaders of the organization. If you're not looking at these different elements of your organization in a real way, then you're doing a severe disservice with regard to the type of decisions that they make, not only for today, but for the next decade to come. They have no idea the human capital challenges that are against them. And if you don't tell them, there's no way that they're going to know, because they're busy focused on whether it's operations, finance, marketing, etc. They're focused on their specific areas. So they're looking for you, even if you have to break down the doors to provide that information. HR strategy should always be directly supportive of corporate strategy. This is somewhat of a contradiction, because on one hand I'm telling you, you have to make sure that you are part of the CEO strategy. You have to make sure that your expertise helps and contributes to the corporate strategy. But at the same time, before you start a program, before you start major efforts, you have to make sure that those are directly aligned with the CEO. Sure, you're the human capital expert, but you're not going to benefit the organization in any way if you take on an initiative that the CEO does not have buy-in. What you're going to do is create organizational schizophrenia, is what I call it. And you're going to have employees that are going to be angry, they're going to be frustrated because they have no idea what direction they're going into. And it's just going to be a painful experience for everyone. At the end of the day, someone's going to end up spinning their wheels because something is going to basically be thrown to the wayside. And most likely, if it didn't come from the CEO's desk, it's going to be your project. So again, even though you're the expert, you have to ensure that that is aligned with what the CEO wants and is directing. And actually, clearly defined goals to become extremely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. I believe Highland really thought that it was important for us to look at what we're doing on a daily basis even. How much time are you wasting? And this is, basic time management. If there aren't specific goals linked to what you're doing, you should be wasting not just the organization's time, but your time as well. And how beneficial is that? Goals are very important. So most of you in the room have probably seen this. And I believe that you should see this probably decades to pass, because it's so important to make sure that your goals are smart. Make sure that they are very specific to, again, what is the organization's vision. That they're measurable, that it's not something that a manager thinks is realistic, but then when the employee goes to implement it, they don't have the resources. It's not something that can be measured. It's just like a pie in the sky idea, that this manager has, but the employees really cannot measure it or make it, something that we can see today, and ensure that it's attainable. Similarly, that you equip your employees to do what you want them to do. So if you know that you hire someone who performs X function and you need Y function completed, either A, you need to hire more resources, or B, ensure that employee has the right training, etc. Make sure that your measures are relevant. Relevant, again, to what the corporate strategy is of the organization. You may have a great idea, but if it does not get incorporated within the rest of the corporate strategy, then it's not going to be very effective. And ensure again that it's a time-bound goal. Not only for one, our deadline decided, even in the most empowered organizations, I find that